I mean, that's exactly what I expect from anyone who likes Rose, to be like a fucking self-hating queer. That's it.
So a few weeks ago, I debated the popular transgender Twitch streamer Keffals. And that debate was one of the most chaotic things that I've ever done. The whole debate, I was essentially just trying to tell Keffals that conservatives weren't gonna murder me and that I don't think the apocalypse is happening. I was trying to get through to her that I don't think the average conservative, your next door neighbor, is evil and that they're super duper transphobic. But she was very, very mad the entire debate. Every time she would bring up a transphobic bill, I would tell her that the bill was bad. And for whatever reason, I just striked a nerve with her. It was truly wild to see. And as much as I would love to show you the full 40-minute conversation, unfortunately I can't because Keffals muted the audio from her stream and I unfortunately did not think to download it while it was airing. But hold on, because the story doesn't end there, believe me. It only gets crazier. So when the call ended with my debate with Keffals, she basically was just yelling full force at me. She was so angry. And I remember her calling me like a dumb bitch and saying all this stuff about me over really just like minor stuff. I didn't say anything that was that bad in the debate. And at the end, I was going to compliment her and be like, hey, as a trans woman, like I kind of appreciate you doing the ratios. It kind of makes me feel like there's people that accept me. I was literally like gonna end the conversation on a positive note, be like, hey, you know, I think you do some good. After this whole like 40 minutes of chaos, I was gonna close it and be nice to her. And then she kicks me off the call, starts laughing at me, and just starts like acting really weird. And obviously, you know, she ratioed me a few times on Twitter. I mean, it wouldn't be Keffals if she didn't do that, right? And that day I got a lot of nasty Twitter comments from her fans, that's to be expected. But you know, the next day happened and overall, I kind of moved on from the situation relatively quickly. That was until yesterday. A whole 2 or so weeks after this event, I had a completely unrelated debate scheduled with another transgender woman called Gammy. And we were just about to have like a lighthearted conversation about like drag queens and like femboys and stuff. And so midway through the stream, all of a sudden we get the notification that Keffals is watching us live. Keffals with her 1,000 live viewers is just sitting down, and from what I've been told, she was basically just like ridiculing me, go after me, like saying, oh, well, you don't know anything, or that I'm stupid and uneducated.
I'm trying to find like a pointing and laughing like light mode meme. Does anyone have a meme of someone pointing and laughing and light mode?
So after this hour of her watching the stream and just her constantly saying these things about me, I make a tweet on Twitter basically saying, hey, Keffals, if you're going to like mock me on stream for an hour, at the very least you can do is like have me on to defend myself. So I tweet that at Keffals. I think that's fair. And so she agrees and she lets me on stream. And so I'm thinking that, okay, maybe we're about to have a productive conversation. I didn't know we didn't exactly go off to a good start. And then this happens.
Hi. Thanks for having me back on.
No worries. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm kind of surprised that you started watching my stream. I just heard some comments saying that you were streaming it. Why did you watch the stream? How did you even find out about it?
That's really interesting. So I guess I'd like to say, I'm never releasing the debate between us. Get fucked. All right, I banned her from the Discord.
Yeah, that you're correct. You just watched the entire 30-second debate that I had with Keffals. My second debate with Keffals, but significantly shorter than the first one, and the only one that I have saved. Huge shout out to Stephie for recording the footage. So anyway, it is likely that unfortunately we will never see the full debate between me and Keffals, and that will probably just be lost media. I have the audio with just me in it, but it's essentially just a bunch of silence, and it doesn't make any sense, so I won't be releasing that. It makes no sense to release a debate where you don't hear the other person's side. So if you want to see that debate, my best recommendation would be to tweet at Keffals and her editor. Tell them that you really want to see it and that you hope that they release it, and maybe we can change the hearts and minds. I find it really weird though, that Keffals seems to be scared to post this debate. Probably because it made her look bad. I feel like I was pretty reasonable in it. You know, I'm not like the best debater in the world. I'm aware of this. I only really started like a month ago. But you know, I'm very calm, and I'm basically just saying like, hey, I don't think Republicans are evil. And it was like we didn't even disagree, and that was the funniest thing. We didn't even disagree all that much. It's something about me and the way that I was and the conversation we had struck a ton of nerves. The moment the conversation ended, she hated my guts. It became apparent to me, despite the fact that I never had any ill feelings towards her before the debate. I had heard a lot of stuff about her. So yeah, now as you can assume by the length of this video, I do have some content for you all today. I actually have 2 videos in one. Because right after the Keffals debate, it happened so suddenly. I had 2 people that just wanted to talk to me on Discord about the whole debate, and we go over a lot of what happened in it. And since I literally have these calls right after the debate, so a lot of it is like fresh off the minds. So since you might not ever be able to hear the original audio of my debate with Keffals, these videos that I recorded serve to give you a good idea of what did happen, and also are very productive conversations. I mean, these are 2 people who essentially really go in depth and say, hey, Rose, this is how you become a better debater. This is what you could have done better. And it was really eye-opening, and I learned a lot from talking to these people. And they were also, you know, there were points where they like talk about like certain tweets I made that they didn't like. I would highly recommend sticking to the end of this video. I think it's gonna be really entertaining. And for those of you who wanted to watch the Keffals debate, but weren't able to make it, this will give you a good idea of what happened that night. I will be putting timestamps in the description as well as the channel links of the people featured. Also, keep in mind the first guy did not want me to show his face, so I edited that out of the video. And the videos are like 99% unedited, but I made a few minor edits at the request of the people I interviewed. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy.
All right, what's up, guys? It's Rose Mulet here with a special guest. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi guys, I'm Michael, also known as Crux the Subject. I am kind of brand new to this space, but I watched Rose's debate with Keffals, and I felt like giving feedback on it just because I like dissecting that kind of stuff. So that's what
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, my most recent video on this channel was also someone who didn't have a YouTube channel, so I think it's cool that we do this. But the main point of this video is I debated Keffals earlier today. For those of you who don't know, I would love to share a link for you to watch that. However, I think it really comes down to whether Keffals posted on our channel, so keep updated. If you want to tag her, let her know. Or you can just watch. It's literally just my audio. Her audio doesn't work for some reason. But I debated her earlier today. He watched it. A bunch of other people watched it. I mean, people on Twitter had some opinions. Keffals had some opinions about it. It's a very interesting debate. I said some stuff in there, and I thought it would be good to have a second opinion to like kind of guide me and like judge my performance in the debate, how I did. So I'm actually very curious because I don't know what your opinions are. So what do you think? How did I do?
so I'm also going to kind of use tidbits from the Bosch debate because I watched that too.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing I noticed is, did you read my DM earlier?
Which DM and which platform?
In Twitter. I'll just kind of go through.
Oh yeah, you can read that. I'm so sorry. It was long, and I had like so much. I had a panel today. I had the Keffals debate. I'm gonna talk to somebody else after this. So I mean, I'm so busy today. You have no idea. So I apologize for that.
No
I unfortunately didn't get the chance. But yeah,
I guess what I'll start off with the positives. So I think you're making it very clear that you want to have a more positive discourse around the discussion of trans rights. It's clearly something that you're passionate about.
yeah.
And I just think that there's certain arguments that you use that you need to like stay away from, especially like if you're going to be debating people. Because if you're going on Keffals or Bosch stream, you're going to be debating.
Oh yeah.
One thing that's important to keep in mind is that there's going to be certain arguments that are like, they're going to call them naive, but I also call them like almost like buzzword arguments or buzz arguments, because it's like, I mean, they're going to instantly have a response to those. Like you're going to repeat points that are like kind of tired in the discourse that they already know how to respond to. So one thing I noticed, and you did this with Vosh too.
Oh no.
You talk a lot about your personal experience.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I don't
So
see where that's a problem though.
it's not a problem that you talk about it. It's the problem is like you're basing your entire belief system on it.
Well,
Because
don't we all to some extent?
so wait, what?
Don't we all to some extent? I mean, to act like our personal experience has no implication, that we're all just subjective.
Oh, of course.
Like,
But like
yeah.
the discourse they're pushing is that like there's a systemic like plan to eliminate trans people, and
Gotcha.
that that Republicans are passing these laws to legislate you and other trans people out of existence. So what they're arguing, well, yes, they're arguing emotionally as well, but what they're arguing is like based on the policies they're seeing. And what you're arguing is like, I just don't feel like that's the case. I don't feel like this, I don't feel like this is valid. Can you kind of see how that's kind of a weak response?
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying is I should probably like have more sources ready, because it's like when I say, "Oh, well, in my experience, I haven't seen this." Even if what I'm saying might objectively be true, the fact that I'm resorting to that argumentation kind of makes me not look as strong. Is that what you're trying to say? Because I think I've heard that before, and I can understand that.
Yes, it makes
So
you look naive, like they call you.
yeah, okay. So in the future, when I debate people, unfortunately with this Keffel stuff, by the way, no matter what happened, this Keffel thing happened so out of the blue. I did not expect her to respond to me, and it just kind of happened all so suddenly. If I was more prepared, I would have had some stuff planned out. But because this was so like last minute, this just kind of happened. It's like, by the way, I'm streaming now. You want to hop on? And I was just like, okay. So that could definitely contribute, but it's definitely something I need to keep in mind because, like, keep in mind, I'm very new to this space. Like, the fact is, I don't know how, but I've managed to talk with pretty much every big lefty streamer in the past month and a half, or most of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm making my way in this scene, and I want to, have that. So
And
that's a good thing to keep in mind in the future.
I'm new to actually like interacting with content creators, but I'm a long time viewer. I've known about Destiny for like a few years now, and he's the main guy, and I've like really been watching him consistently for about a year now, and so like I've just gotten used to the different topics discussed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one thing like I would advise on that is, so did you go back and watch your own debate with Vosh?
I did actually. Yeah, I did.
So what I feel like you need to do with that, and if Keffals posted, or if there's some way to go back and find the audio, like go back and be prepared to pick apart your own points. So
Good
like,
thing to keep in mind.
yeah. So let me see what else I just. Yeah. So another thing is to set a common ground, where to start with them, because like with Vosh, because obviously Vosh is like way more civil about it, because he as much as I don't like him, he's much more civil.
It was nice to me. He called me smart. Okay, so Mars is
Yeah.
cool in my book for now.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing that's important to do is you set a common ground on what you agree on, instead of going in with, yeah, I heard you saying this, and like I just don't feel like that's the case. It's and this is like overlapping with the appeals to emotion, the anecdotal evidence, and all that sort of stuff. So like for example, you could agree that, yeah, I think these laws are really fucked up that Republicans are passing. Like all these things like making puberty blockers illegal and making it illegal to teach about trans people in school, or whatever policies are the hot button issues. You make it clear to them. It's like, yeah, I think those are really fucked up, and like because I'm heading you do, right?
I feel like I did that though. I feel like part of the reason why Keffals was so frustrated with me is because I did that. Because like she at some point she was like, wait, do we really disagree? But it's like, you agree with me, but you still think this. And it was kind of frustrating towards the end. She got really mad at me. She was like really mad at me. Like apparently to her, the most mad she's ever gotten in a debate, which is like, damn, you
Right.
could be more mad at the actual transphobes and not me, but okay. I heard that maybe she's more mad because I'm trans. I don't know.
First of
I
all,
feel like
can
I
tell
tried
you-
that.
Yeah, first of all, I can tell you if she said that that's the only time I've told someone to shut the fuck up and kick them off, that is not the first time she's done that.
So she's lying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I some opinion, but the what was I gonna say? So yeah, you felt like you were doing that, but one thing I would say is you need to like take it a step further and say, all right, so now that we both agree that this is kind of a fucked up thing, let's understand what each other's goals are. And you kind of said that later in the debate, like my goal is to create a more positive discourse around it and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's kind of more important to establish that more concretely at the beginning, and then kind of spring off it, and use your own, like kind of branch off from where you agree into where you disagree. It's like we agree on this, we agree on this, we agree on this, but wait, let's talk about this.
Yeah,
So-
okay, that's a good point to make. My thing is because I'm so used to because I'm a YouTuber first and foremost. A lot of people I've talked to recently, they're like Twitch streamers, they're like YouTube streamers. This is something that like I'm new to. Maybe one day I'll start streaming, but like I make music, I make like YouTube videos, and then that where I'm used to is you say a bunch of things on camera. Like I'll film for like an hour, a few hours or something, and then I'll cut down like the unnecessary stuff. I'll be like, oh, I can edit this out later. you know, and it becomes better due to that. So I'm used to making everything perfect, this perfection of like, okay, this is what I need to say. I can cut that. But when you're on live, I mean, that's like, you know, making a song like freestyle. It's not going to be the same as if you sat down and planned every lyric. It's a really hard. And so I genuinely do think when you're having these debates, I mean, you have to have your points like planned out in advance, or you have to be able to come quick on the fly because it's so easy to be prepared. But when you're in that moment, you've got to respond so quickly and you've got to have a lot to say. And it can be a struggle at times, you know, it's tough. I try to hold my ground, but you know, people have opinions. Some people don't think I've done that well. Some people do.
There's also, so have you ever heard of the differences between spine and vulnerability?
Explain to me. Like
So,
having a spine, a backbone, is that what you're saying?
yes, so spine versus vulnerability. It's like a
Yeah.
dichotomy of like how we develop the self. Have you heard of like id, superego, and ego?
Super ego versus ego, or that's not the same thing?
Yeah. So
Okay.
no, yeah. So yeah, there's a few different things. So
Never heard super
spine
ego before.
spine is your willingness to stay true to your beliefs. Vulnerability is your willingness to have your beliefs challenged. That's a very simplified version of it. So
Gotcha.
it's important to have a balance of that because the id is your spine, like yourself, like how confident you are in yourself. Your super ego is how much you're influenced by other people, and the way we balance that is how we create the ego, which is just
Oh,
full
yeah. I just want to point out real quick. I'm so sorry. I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to say I've noticed this theme in my debates. People often say to me, like, even if, like, quote unquote, I concede on a point, I'm still arguing it as if though, like, and I see people point this out all the time. It's like, wait, Rose, didn't you just say you kind of agreed? Why are you still arguing on this point? I've
Yes.
seen people talk to me. That's something I
what
want to address because it's like, that doesn't mean I agree 100%. I still have feelings. I feel like there is something still worth talking about, but like maybe you've gotten me to see like, okay, maybe, you know, I thought too extreme. I don't think that that's like, I can concede without it being a 100% full concession. You are 100% right. I think I still have valid points, but I feel like and it's like, I guess maybe you could say it's me wanting to have my cake and eat it too. I don't know. It's me being like, I completely understand what you're saying and I agree with you. There's some kinks to that. There's like some like little bits where it's like I feel like this still deserves some distinction. People have issues with that, but that's how I feel, and I feel like that's fine.
both ways.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, that makes sense.
So one thing, it's so like obviously this can kind of be daunting to do on a public platform. I don't even know if actually this piece of advice is correct, but it is totally okay to just take an L on a subject and say, you know, I hadn't really thought about it like that. I think that now that I take a sec to think about it, you're probably right. So, and it's totally okay to do that. And then you sit with it for a sec, and then you kind of expand on the topic. It's important to break down each point into pieces and decide, because that's also how you build the rapport and the common ground. It's like, because if there's another piece of common ground you can add on with that person, if you're trying to have a productive debate, which I know with Keffals it's hard to do, but if you just add another stone to that comment, that's always productive in a debate.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think there's a merit. Like, if I'm absolutely wrong on something, I will concede, and I don't think I'm afraid to concede if I feel like it. But I haven't felt like I'm 100% wrong. If I genuinely felt that way, I would say it. I would have no shame because that's, you know,
I don't
I
think
don't
you've
care.
ever been 100% wrong, considering I agree with you on a lot of the positions you've been taking in these debates.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because like I think there definitely are problems with how we're treating trans people, and I also think that this is probably the best time in human history to be a trans person.
Exactly, that's what I said in the debate. So I know why she's so mad at me.
Right. Well, right, because people like Fosh and Keffals are going to interpret that as there's a little fucking genocide coming. When maybe that would have happened under Hitler, you know, because it kind of did. But like, we're not really at a genocide. You can argue that it's like legislating out of existence, and that's the argument they're going to use. It's like a soft genocide argument, and that's kind of something that you need to go after. You're not like picking that. Rather, like I'm just saying, I just don't feel like that's the case. Right?
So what's the best way to tackle that? Like, if they're going to argue from the soft genocide, like, how do I what's the best way to combat that? Like in a debate, Like, what would you do?
So I'd have to think about it, just because I haven't had the debate directly with someone.
Yeah.
And
It's hard. It's really hard.
it's
People
really
say a
hard,
lot of shit, but
especially
you try doing that.
right. It's hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard, especially when they believe so strongly in it, and it's going to be hard to sway them from that opinion. It would be wise to look up statistical data, maybe look at like actual statistics on violence against trans people. And also because then they're going to reduce that down to, well, even if there's not violence right now, it's going to be like stochastic violence that says, because the you have to take, what am I trying to say? you try to like attack them on like why this little thing, like restricting puberty blockers for children under the age of 13, for example. Like, why is that violence? Like, what is, and then attack them on what is violence, and then kind of nail down what the definition is, because then you're arguing, because then you're just talking into each other's ears, and you have two different definitions.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to restricting puberty blockers and stuff, I think that's a horrific thing. I don't agree with it at all. But like, how do I say that? Like, I want to say like this is really bad, but it's like it's not violent. Like, that's the thing. It's like, how do I tell people I don't agree with something, but I also don't agree with you saying that it's literally the same as violence? Like, how do I have a conversation without looking like, oh, well, you're defending them? It's like, I'm not though. Yeah. And like, so, when people,
they're gonna say like you're siding with fascists and all that sort of stuff. You're like,
I heard that people told that to me. I'm like, hello, I'm a trans. Like, what? Like, right. Okay, trans people were killed in the Holocaust. Like, I'm not a fascist. Like, have you heard what I've been saying? Come on.
An argument they might give you back is like, oh, black slaves during the slavery era, acted as overseers, all that sort of stuff. So it's not. It didn't preclude them from being part of the problem or something. That's like an example of it.
Purely looking at my beliefs. My beliefs are not fascist beliefs. I shouldn't even be having to say this. Like, come on, that's like the most uncharitable way of like viewing me.
They don't know what it means. I think Keffals doesn't actually know what it means. I think Bosch does know what it means, and he refuses to actually use the correct definition of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be fair, Keffals is not like a professional debater. She just racist people on Twitter, and now she's like, oh, cool, let me debate people. No offense to her. She's probably a nice lady. I don't know. She was not nice to me, but, I like to think positive things about people. I
like to think positive things about people too, but I also just... So, okay. Another thing, let me see.
While you're waiting, I just want to mention, like, when she mentioned the transphobic laws and stuff in my debate, like, how am I supposed to respond to her being like, well, actually, a lot of like, this is horrible for trans people because look at all these transphobic laws. It's like in the debate, I was like, I agree with you. There are these transphobic laws, like, and they're awful. But then she's basically like saying that means that she's right, that it is really bad. It's like, how am I supposed to respond to that though? Because it makes it look like I'm not defending the laws, but like, what's the best way to respond to something like that in a debate, Kind of just happened.
Yeah, the problem with discourse often is that if you're not 100%, then you're like all the way on the fascist side. So what you do there is you attack her definitions. So she says, well, yeah, that's you agree those laws are fucked up, so they're literally committing violence against trans people. You try to get her to explain, why is this violence? Okay, and then if she's like, well, because they're doing this, this, and that, it's like, okay, but why is that violence?
I think that's more tricky than that, because I don't think, I could be wrong. I have to rewatch the debate, which I can't rewatch the debate, so that sucks. I don't think she said that it was committing violence, though. I think she just said, like, this is really bad for trans people. We're in a really bad time, unprecedented, all these transphobic laws. How can I agree with her that, like, because I do agree that these laws are bad, but how can I do that while also saying I think it's overblown, conservatives aren't that bad? How can those things coexist, and how do I best tackle that?
Yeah, that's a better example of something she actually said, because she did say this is like an unprecedented time. How is it unprecedented? This is the best time to live as a trans person in the history of humanity.
That's what I said, yeah.
Way worse 10 years ago. It was way worse 30 years ago. No, but
that's what I said, yeah.
That's what you said, but you didn't ask her to prove that.
Okay.
Like, why is it so much worse now to be a trans person than it was 20 or 30 years ago? Like, why is it so much worse now?
Yeah, and that's what
Why is it
I think
worse
I
to-
said.
Why is it worse to be an LGBT person in general when they were literally ignoring the AIDS crisis in the 80s? You know, like, just as an example, because we're not
That's
talking
good. That's
about, we're not
good. That's
necessarily
a
talking
good
about
one.
AIDS, but like that line of thought. It's like,
Yeah.
why is it worse now than it was before? Like you're not like pushing her to prove that, and you definitely need to do that.
That's a good thing. I think that is a very good. I'll write that one down. What I did mention in the debate, in case because people can't watch it, I'll just kind of briefly run through what I said. I mentioned two things. I mentioned like, okay, if you look at the number of laws being passed, there's more like in the U.S., but undeniably, like it's illegal to be trans in all these countries. They don't need to pass laws. It's already so bad. So I said that, and then I said the UK. I mentioned like before because she was saying like conservative stuff, and I said, well, there's a lot of leftists like liberals in the UK who are transphobic. There's a turf movement. People like J.K. Rowling, who's like she's pretty liberal. Like those people are extremely transphobic. So I don't think it's a purely left or right thing. There's a lot of people who vote for liberals but hate trans people. So I don't think it's simply all conservatives are bad and evil and transphobic.
The problem is she's correct in saying that that's not relevant to her discussion. And I'll
Okay,
explain why.
how so?
So first of all, bringing up someone like J.K. Rowling, who is a leftist, is have you heard of a whataboutism?
Yeah, I was just using that as an example though to be like, well, actually,
Yeah. So like, no, but you were using it to try to disprove her point. So it's a whataboutism. You're like, oh, but what about this one leftist who's transphobic versus her saying this entire fucking group is transphobic? Like, I could give like even if J.K. Rowling was like the Prime Minister of England or like the president of the EU or something like that, and like had influence over millions of people. Even then, her opinion means so little compared to a group that has more direct influence on you as a person and the rest of us, like the Republican Party of the U.S., which has the majority in one of our houses. That has more of a direct influence, and it's a much larger group. It has just a way wider influence. So like that's what she's going to attack you.
Okay. I guess I would, yeah.
So you were arguing to try to be right rather than arguing the point.
Rather than arguing what? Arguing to be right.
You were arguing to be right and not arguing the point.
Okay, I could see that. I guess my rebuttal would be like that trans stuff. Like J.K. Rowling does have a lot of influence on people, and that influence can lead to policy changes. Her influence on the culture, getting people to believe. I guess you could say, well, actually, the conservatives are much more direct because you can see, point of policy A, B, and C directly by these conservatives in power. It's like, okay, that's a fair point. But like, how would I argue against that when she's like, well, look at, by a fact, and that's how she responded. Like, these are facts. The conservatives did in action pass. So even if an individual conservative is like, they're not super transphobic, they're still voting for a party that is enacting these transphobic laws. So how do I respond to something like that? Like, what's the best thing to do? Again, this is notes for the future. I'm trying to improve.
Yeah, no. What I would do is first of all, make sure you research that law to a T.
Gotcha.
Like that law that Greg Abbott passed in Texas. I'm sure it was fucking stupid because Greg Abbott's an idiot. But it's important to know because you gotta kind of go in with an intuition of she's going to bring this up. She's going to bring this up. She's going to bring this up. I gotta know to a T because what if? And because I don't know off the top of my head, but what if you read the law and it's not actually that bad? Like what if what if she thinks we're restricting puberty blockers for children under 13, or what if it's we're going to require parental consent?
That's a good idea.
Just as an example, because that'd be a little bit more nuanced, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
Because and maybe you still disagree, but
it's
not quite as bad as just straight up restricting it completely.
That's the problem, though. Sorry,
you gotta be ready to pick apart the little details and be like, wait, hold on, is that actually true?
Yeah, my thing would be is she mentioned hundreds of different bills. So I guess preparing, like I said, unfortunately did not have a lot of time to look into this. But in the future, I should look up I can't look at hundreds, but I can look at specific ones or some of the most common ones and critique those and use those as an example. But then she might, do another one of those hundreds that I don't know about. So I mean, that's just something I have to prepare. I mean, when it comes to Don't Say Gay, I thought originally Don't Say Gay, oh, this is, a problem. Then I read into it. And it's well, actually, I don't think Don't Say Gay is that bad. And it's why focus on this when there's other worse bills to be focusing on. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the way I approach people on Don't Say Gay is like, of course, I think it's fucking stupid to say.
Yeah, I don't agree with Don't Say Gay.
You can't talk about gay people in school. That's what people think it says. When that's not at all what it fucking says. What it says is you can't like teach about gender identity before 4th grade.
And I think homosexuality too, right? Or no?
Yeah, something like that. And like,
Okay.
granted, you can argue that that's still fucking stupid, but that's not as bad as the narrative that the left.
No,
Exactly.
and that's the problem.
That's the important nuance to look at. Like, you've got to look at the nuances.
And that's the issue I have, because it's really just K-3, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But the problem is when people attack it, it gives the Republicans like, wow, they're really mad over this. You know, but of course, when they call it grooming, it's disgusting. It's like, oh, really, you're going to call trans kids like that grooming? Ew. But you have to have these conversations well.
It's another example like in Georgia, when they passed voter ID laws that significantly affect Black neighborhoods, and the left justifiably got angry at that. They're like, oh, what? You don't think people should have an ID to vote? Like, of course everybody thinks that. Like, baseline, yes, everybody thinks that. The problem is the laws were targeting these specific areas. That's the nuance you attack something with.
Okay.
So that's just an approach I would take. If you know, or when you debate someone in the future, it's like, especially someone like who's going to disagree with you with as much vitriol as Keffals does. Although I don't think the next person exists, because I don't think anyone has more vitriol than she does. But like if you're gonna debate someone about it, you gotta be more ready to pick it.
Yeah, I like, that's the problem though. Is I keep saying this, it's like I didn't have any time to prepare. I was like so focused on like DMing Keffals because I had to basically be like, she's like, what are you debating me on? And I had to tell her, it's like, when I debated Vosh and Destiny, I wrote paragraphs. They'll even tell you. I wrote so much. So that's usually what happens when I debate people. With Keffals, I didn't. I mean, I wrote her a little bit, but I didn't have the time to write these paragraphs. You know, and then usually I look at those paragraphs as like a basis of what I want to cover, you know, some of the points I want to make. That helps me a bit. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
In the future, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and again, like if you're going to go, especially if you're going to go on panels, like you're going to be in front of more people, you know, and like more debaters and stuff like that. And they're, you know, it's really, most of the time I don't see people gang out too much, but it's going to be an environment right for ganging up on you. You know, if you say something,
people,
yeah, and like Keffals, when she shouted at you, was like, you know, you deserve to be fucking yelled at, you dumb bitch, or whatever, you know, whatever she said. But like you gotta be prepared for those moments to happen. Now, granted, you responded pretty okay to that, I think, but like,
thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, that was the gist of it. Let's see if I had anything else. Yeah, so you handled being insulted pretty well, but you got a little bit more withdrawn, which is like she was, you know, if you were in a room, she was kind of she kind of like backed you up against the wall.
Yeah, so she was more aggressive. She was like talking that, like, I mean, I'm glad you think I did well, but like, how could I improve my performance? Like, I got a lot of Keffals fans angry at me. How do I lessen that amount? How do I like get my point across more?
Yeah, well,
this is what I'm trying to do, and I failed at that.
No, I mean, I've argued with them on Twitter.
Okay, fair.
I mean, they like, just because I've called. Look, I'm nobody, but like I've called her out on Twitter. Like everybody disagrees with her.
It's okay.
Like,
I was nobody once too. You'll start streaming. You'll start getting known more. It's okay if you want to, if that's what you want, or you can just stay on Twitter and chill.
Yeah, and I had some rando tell me, your hatred of trans people is going to get you nowhere. I'm like, all I did was fucking say I didn't like Keffals, and I just disagreed with her opinion on this.
How do you hate trans people? I'm a trans woman. Do you hate me? Do you think I shouldn't have rights?
In the slightest.
That's so stupid. Why do they think you're transphobic? I'm the token trans woman defending you, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you're the...
Yeah. But I think you're fine. You've been nice to me. If you said transphobic stuff, I certainly don't think you have. That's so silly to me.
No, my Twitter's there for you to look at. I've never posted anything transphobic.
I believe you. I 100% do. So that's so weird.
And like you and I went back
just because you don't like Keffals, you're transphobic.
Right, and you and I went back and forth on the trans swimmer thing, and I was explaining to you like why I believe that the ruling was correct. I still don't think that makes me transphobic.
Oh, and I know this is off topic. Like I transitioned when I was 14 though. And like, I am so freaking weak. Like, to say that I have an advantage would be silly. I know I understand people like whatever her name is. I don't know why I don't remember, but you know what I'm talking. Leah Thomas.
Yeah, yeah, Thomas.
Her and me are two completely different cases. Because I transitioned at 14, they banned me. Do you think they should ban me? Do you think it should be a little more lenient and be like, okay, you transitioned when you were 14. Come on, don't ban me. Or do you think I should be banned? Do you think I'm unfair even though I'm weak?
Well, like, I can't say where the cutoff is because I don't know all the science behind it. All I'm saying is like, I will say that that law is more in the right direction than just openly allowing it all the time. Because,
but can you?
Because someone like Leah Thomas has been training her entire life. When did she transition? At like 18 or 19?
I don't even know.
Yeah,
later than me for sure.
Let's just say for the sake of this that she did. She spent like her high school formative years having gone through puberty and like conditioning and all that sort of stuff. And granted, the conditioning is more intense in college. But like that's when you did. And then some people argue, oh, she didn't win the NCAA tournament. She tied. I'm like, yeah, she tied in the fucking NCAA tournament. Like, there are women who can swim faster than I can. I work out pretty frequently, but like, there are still going to be some women who can kick my ass. Like, if I tried to fight fucking Rose Namajunas in UFC.
Okay, but I'm different than you. Come on, like I'm not the same as you.
Everybody's
yeah, no,
that's why there's nuances to it, and that's why at least until we figure out what the exact cutoff is, like when they start taking puberty blockers, when they transition, all that sort of stuff, I think it is safer in the spirit of competition, or like in the spirit of integrity of competition, to have this rule rather than allow it openly, so that we can eventually move toward, like if we can safely allow children to take puberty blockers, like you did when you were 14, and maybe even younger, maybe we can, and then maybe we can revisit the rule.
Okay, my argumentation. I transitioned at 14. I was so young, I had to take puberty blockers. In fact, my testosterone naturally was so low, they said they would put me on testosterone if I wasn't trans, which is hilarious. So, I transitioned at 14. I had to take, puberty blockers. So, like, do you think that I should not be allowed to participate? Like, or someone like who transitioned at 14, do you think they shouldn't be allowed to participate? Like, let's say the cutoff is anyone who transitioned 14 or younger can, like, would you be like, yeah.
If that was the rule, like if they changed the ruling to people who transition
to 14 or younger can compete, to accommodate to me specifically.
No, I wouldn't necessarily say that you should be banned because, like, I think like having access to co-ed sports should be more common in the high school level, like up to the college level. And like if
I know what you're trying to say, but like just
right,
purely
like
that.
Like if you had a boys and girls high school and a trans girl who transitioned at 14 wanted to participate on the women's team, I think generally that there can be an argument made for that.
Okay. I mean, we could have this discussion a whole nother time. I know we don't see eye to eye, and that's okay. We can disagree on this and still be cool. I had a debate with Destiny. Destiny's more extreme about the trans sports thing. I said some stuff that, people were like, okay, you're a little too far on this. And it's like, okay, you can have that opinion. But like, I think Destiny's a cool guy. I don't think he should be making like 5 videos about why trans people shouldn't be. I think that's a weird thing to specifically. I think that emphasis is probably why I got with the ruling.
Talk to him about it.
That is probably true, honestly. Yeah. To be fair, that is completely possible.
Because like when someone comes on his stream to talk to him about it, that's literally, it's not him making the video. That's them giving him the content to make a video. So
cool. Like I said, I know this is gonna sound bad. I didn't know, like, I've watched Destiny before. Don't get me wrong, the dude's legendary. I mean, I know that stuff he had with John Swan, like that video is like internet history. He's a very infamous, or not infamous. He's a very famous like Twitch streamer. I've seen his stuff. I hadn't seen a ton of his stuff before I debated him. I think like the week or two before I debated him, and like right after I debated him, I got like really into that community. But I'm still like new mostly, but like, I mean, he has so much content, but I've been watching a lot more of it recently. So, yeah. I mean, that's very helpful. I do want to get back into the Keffals thing, unless there's anything else you want to mention.
Yeah,
I'll let
sure.
you.
Yeah, we kind of branched off a little bit, but yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I can't think of anything specifically, but like, because I feel like we've gotten so far like off, which is great. We've had a nice discussion about it. Is there anything like, I'm trying to remember, and it sucks because I would have watched it back if I could have. But is there anything I said during the debate we haven't covered yet that you really want to like, oh, I don't think you should have said this, or you could have said this better?
I don't. Yeah, I didn't memorize every single line, and
That's fair. That is fair.
I know you don't think I did that, but like, um, I didn't look at anything specific that you said. It's more like your tactics because I think like only you can know what you want to say. I'm just
Right.
trying to give you like how you approach it, because you'll eventually figure out what you want to say and how you want to say it. But like, I'm more like just I wanted to let you know like this is what I would do if I was approaching the subject and like how I would think about it going in.
Okay. Is that all you had to say, or like any last
Yeah,
stuff before we?
yeah, that's all I have right now. I just yeah, just wanted to kind of have a chat and talk about what I think could have gone better, and then I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's kind of a shorter than I expected, which is totally fine. I mean, I could use some more shorter videos. But I mean, since I'm here with you, I just enjoy talking. Is there anything else? It doesn't have to be Keffals related because I'll probably title it Keffals stuff, but then we'll have like, other stuff. Is there anything like in general? The floor is yours. Anything you want to criticize me in any debate or just like talk about any like discussion you want to have? Like, real, I mean, it's up to you. I like talking to you. You seem like a cool guy.
Yeah. What I can do is see if you made a hot take on Twitter recently.
Oh my god, I made so many freaking hot takes on Twitter. Like,
But I know you want to do the panel about that.
the panel about what? Oh yeah. Oh, you heard about that, right? You want to be a part of that? By the way, people watching, I'm doing a panel. Anyone's invited, okay? I'm one of those people. If you want to be on, I will have you on. I'm a small enough content creator that I can make that happen. I'm large enough that it will get views. So if you want to be a content creator, you want to be involved, be on Discord, add me. I'll link it below. And I make so many, I'm sure you noticed, I post so many freaking tweets. It's actually insane. And because I had the crazy day that I had, a Keffals debate, then a panel, and then this, and then other stuff, like because of that, I just so much to scroll through. But believe me, I have
endless content for me to look at during the day.
Yeah, I know I've said this multiple times. If anything else you want to say, let me know. We can keep talking and not record, or we can just like keep going, or if you're just done, we're done. I mean, that's totally fine. It's up to you.
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna go get some dinner and just kind of chill for the rest.
Perfectly cool. All right. Well, I was so nice to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on and reviewing my debate with me.
Not a problem. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Not a problem. You have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Chris Hansen here. I have a message for you, Rose Mulet. Thank you for the wonderful entertainment you have provided us with. I'm going to need you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rose
Mulet.
Warning, very sad. Why don't I have 1 million subs yet? This isn't fair, give me subs. If you wanted sandwiches you could have just asked. Or you could subscribe to Rose Mulet's channel. I think I'll take the sandwiches.
Is this really what you want or what you wanted? Give me everything and treat me like it's nothing. Is it nothing? It's the party in the Illuminati. If you really think to tell me, is it what? And if you think it is, it's what you wanted. Everybody is wondering why there could be nothing. Oh, is it nothing?